The rain fell hard over New York City, turning the streets into rivers of silver light. Black luxury cars stopped outside one of the most expensive hotels in Manhattan, and armed bodyguards stepped out first, scanning every corner with cold eyes. Then the man in the center car appeared. Tall, calm, and dressed in a perfect black suit, Damian Moretti walked onto the sidewalk. Conversations died instantly. People lowered their heads. He was the youngest Mafia boss in the country, and his name carried more fear than most prisons. But tonight, Damian's attention wasn't on rival gangs or business deals. It was on a girl standing alone across the street. She wore an oversized gray hoodie that hung past her hands and loose black pants that hid her figure completely. Her hood covered most of her face, and she carried two heavy grocery bags while strangers brushed past her as if she were invisible. That was exactly how Emma Carter wanted it. For years she had worked hard to disappear from the world. Yet when she stepped onto the wet road, her foot slipped. One bag burst open, and apples rolled across the street. A speeding sports car rushed toward her. Tires screamed. People shouted. The car stopped only inches away from her body. For a moment, Emma couldn't move. Then Damian did something that shocked everyone around him. He walked into the rain himself, bent down, picked up the scattered apples, and placed them back into the torn bag. When he handed it to her, she finally looked up. Their eyes met for only a second, but Damian saw something unexpected there. She wasn't afraid of the car. She was afraid of being noticed. Emma whispered a quick thank you and hurried away into the rain before he could say another word. The next morning, Emma arrived at the small bakery where she worked before sunrise. She mixed dough, arranged pastries, and avoided conversations like she always did. When her boss asked her to deliver a special order to Moretti Corporation, she felt a strange knot form in her stomach. She didn't know that the company belonged to the same man from the rain. An hour later, she stepped into a towering glass building filled with marble floors and expensive decorations that made her feel completely out of place. The receptionist directed her to the executive floor, and when the elevator doors opened, Emma walked into a massive office overlooking the city. A man stood near the windows with his back turned. "Leave the cakes on the table," he said. Emma obeyed, but when he turned around, her heart nearly stopped. Damian recognized her instantly. "So," he said quietly, "you work here." Emma nodded nervously and tried to leave, but he stopped her. From a drawer in his desk, he pulled out a silver necklace. "You dropped this yesterday." Emma stared at it in shock. It had belonged to her mother, and she thought it was lost forever. Her hands trembled as she took it back. Tears filled her eyes before she could stop them. Damian noticed the tears, but said nothing. She left the office as quickly as she could. After she disappeared, Damian ordered an investigation. The report arrived 3 days later. Emma had no criminal record, no debts, and no family left. She worked 2 jobs and lived in a tiny apartment. But one line caught his attention. College scholarship canceled after conflict with businessman Victor Hale. Damian knew Hale well. Powerful, wealthy, and dangerous. Suddenly Emma's oversized clothes made sense. That evening Damian went to the bakery himself. 3 black SUVs stopped outside, and every customer became silent. Emma was cleaning the front window when she saw him enter. "What are you doing here?" she asked. Damian stepped closer. "I came to ask you something. Why are you hiding from the world?" Emma looked away. "You wouldn't understand." Damian's voice softened. "Try me." For a long moment she said nothing. Then she finally looked directly into his eyes and whispered, "Beauty only brought pain into my life." The bakery fell silent. Damian didn't answer immediately because those words hit him harder than she could imagine. Years ago, his mother had said the exact same thing before the Mafia world destroyed her happiness. For the first time in years, Damian Moretti saw someone who wasn't impressed by his money, his power, or his name. Emma only wanted to be left alone, and somehow, that made him unable to walk away. Damian remained silent for several seconds after hearing Emma's words. The small bakery felt unusually quiet. Even the sound of the oven seemed to disappear. He looked at the oversized hoodie hiding her body and finally understood that it was not a fashion choice. It was armor. Emma had built invisible walls around herself because the world had taught her that beauty could become a curse. Damian slowly nodded before saying, "No one should have to hide just to feel safe." Emma forced a weak smile, but she did not believe him. Too many people had promised to protect her before. Every promise had ended in disappointment. Without saying another word, Damian left the bakery. His bodyguards quickly followed, confused by the short visit. Inside the SUV, His most trusted assistant looked at him through the mirror. Boss, should we keep watching the girl? Damien stared out of the window at the busy streets. No, he answered calmly. Protect her. She must never know we are doing it. From that day, Emma's life changed without her realizing it. The dark alley she walked through every night suddenly became safe. The drunk men who usually waited near her apartment disappeared. The landlord who always threatened to increase her rent unexpectedly apologized and repaired the broken windows. Emma thought everything was just luck. She never imagined that Damien's men were quietly solving every problem before it could reach her. A week later, trouble arrived. Victor Hale, the wealthy businessman who had ruined Emma's life years earlier, walked into the bakery wearing an expensive suit and an arrogant smile. Time had made him older, but not kinder. The moment Emma saw him, her face turned pale. Her hands began shaking so badly that she almost dropped the tray she was carrying. Victor smiled as if nothing had happened. Emma, he said softly, you still look beautiful. Even while trying so hard to hide it, Emma stepped backward. Please leave, Victor laughed. You disappeared without saying goodbye. That hurt my feelings. The bakery owner sensed something was wrong but stayed silent. Victor was rich, powerful, and connected to important people. Nobody wanted trouble. Emma's breathing became faster. Painful memories returned all at once. She remembered losing her scholarship, her apartment, her dreams, and every opportunity she had worked for simply because she rejected him. Victor leaned closer. You should have accepted my offer years ago. Your life would have been much easier. Before Emma could answer, the bakery door opened again. The room instantly became silent. Damien Moretti walked inside. His expression was calm, but everyone could feel the danger surrounding him. His bodyguards remained outside while he walked directly toward Victor. Victor forced a smile. Mr. Moretti, what an unexpected surprise. Damien ignored the greeting. Instead, he looked at Emma. Are you all right? Emma could barely nod. Damien turned back toward Victor. I asked her a question. Victor's smile disappeared. Damien took one slow step forward. The answer is obvious. Victor tried to laugh. This is a personal matter. Damien's voice became colder. Not anymore. The entire bakery held its breath. Victor understood immediately that something had changed. You know who I am, Victor warned. Damien smiled for the first time, a smile that frightened everyone in the room. Yes, and you forgot who I am. Victor's confidence disappeared. Within 24 hours, Victor Hawley's world began falling apart. His illegal businesses were exposed, his secret accounts were frozen. Powerful partners suddenly canceled every deal with him. Police investigations appeared one after another. Nobody knew how it happened. Everyone except Damien. He had not broken the law. He had simply revealed the truth that Victor had hidden for years. Emma watched the news in complete shock. The untouchable businessman who had destroyed her future had lost everything overnight. For the first time in years, she smiled. Days later, Damien visited the bakery again. This time he came alone. Emma poured him a cup of coffee. Did you do it? She asked quietly. Damien looked into his cup. I only opened doors. The truth walked through them. Emma understood exactly what he meant. Neither of them spoke for several minutes. Then Damien noticed that Emma was still wearing the same oversized hoodie. You don't have to hide forever, he said gently. Emma looked down. It's easier this way, is it? She didn't answer. A few days later, Damien invited her to a charity dinner organized by his foundation. Emma refused 3 times before finally agreeing. She arrived wearing another loose sweater, hoping nobody would notice her. But before entering the ballroom, Damien stopped her. I have something for you. One of his assistants handed her a simple navy blue dress. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't expensive looking. It was elegant, respectful, and beautiful. Emma looked nervous. I can't wear this. You can. People will stare. Damien smiled softly. Then let them stare at your confidence, not your fear. His words stayed in her mind. A few minutes later, Emma stepped out wearing the dress. The oversized hoodie was gone. Her long brown hair rested naturally on her shoulders. She wore no expensive jewelry, almost no makeup, yet everyone in the room turned to look at her, not because she was dressed like a model, but because she looked confident for the first time in years. Emma became uncomfortable. She instinctively crossed her arms. Damien quietly walked beside her. You don't have to hide. I'm trying. I know. Those 2 words gave her more comfort than she expected. Throughout the evening, Damien introduced her to doctors, teachers, business owners, and volunteers. None of them cared about her appearance. They spoke to her because of her kindness, intelligence, and honest smile. For the first time in years, Emma realized something. Not everyone looked at beauty with bad intentions. Some people looked at the person behind it. Months passed. Emma left her second job and started studying again with the help of a scholarship funded by Damien's foundation. She began designing programs for women who had suffered harassment and emotional abuse, helping them rebuild their confidence just as she was rebuilding hers. One evening, she stood on the rooftop of Moretti Tower, watching the city lights. Damien joined her. "You've changed," he said. Emma smiled. "So have you?" He laughed quietly. "I used to think power could solve everything. And now I know. Sometimes people don't need protection. They need someone who believes in them." Emma looked at the skyline before turning toward him. If you hadn't picked up those apples in the rain, double quotes, I would still be hiding." Damien smiled. "And if you hadn't shown me your courage, I would still believe everyone feared me." Emma laughed softly. The cold wind carried the sound across the rooftop. For the first time in many years, she wasn't hiding behind oversized clothes. She wasn't hiding behind fear. She wasn't hiding from the world. Because one man had looked beyond the hoodie and seen the woman who had been waiting all along to believe in herself again. Sometimes, the greatest gift isn't changing someone's appearance. It's helping them remember that they never needed to hide who they truly were.